All right, guys, this is a very important section. So you see how some of the letters are put together for, like, for example, my notice of intent to file a suit against the credit bureaus for civil liability for willful noncompliance. That's 15 USC subsection 1681 N as in Nancy. A, in general, any person, because they have willfully failed to comply with the requirement imposed under this title with respect to another consumer is liable to that consumer in the amount equal to the sum of. Here we go. This is what we're going to bring forth against the credit bureaus because they are willfully non-compliant. You sent the first letter, you sent the second letter, you sent the third letter, you sent the notice of intent, you sent the affidavit. They didn't rebut the affidavit within 30 days, and they got a claim against the Fair Credit, the Federal Trade Commission. They got a case open. So why not get paid? You have a slam dunk case. So subsection 16 and the letter of notice of intent to sue, we're going to specifically zero in subsection 16 and subsection 1617. And I'll read it for you guys. And it says, in general, any person who willfully fails to comply with any requirement imposed under this title with respect to any consumer is liable to that consumer in an amount equal to the sum of 1A. Any actual damages sustained by the consumer as a result of the failure or damages of not less than $100, not more than $1,000, or B, in the case of liability of a natural person for obtaining a consumer report under false pretenses, meaning or knowingly without a permissible purpose, actual damages sustained by the consumer as a result of the failure, or $1,000, whichever is greater. So what does that mean? Those are those hard credit pulls. See, let's read it again. In the case of liability of a natural person for obtaining a consumer report under false pretenses. Somebody obtained a credit report under false pretenses or knowingly without a permissible purpose. I didn't give them permission to pull my credit. What is these hard inquiries doing on my credit for? Actual damages sustained by the consumer are hard inquiries on my credit score. I went to apply for a car with Wells Fargo. I didn't tell you guys to apply to 15 different lenders. So each one of those 15 different lenders is going to get an impermissible credit pull. I want $1,000 for each and every last one of them. Every case is handled separately, guys. You see, you catch my drift? So here it is. We're using these letters, we're creating these letters to deal with the debt collectors in order to seek remedy. Okay, so you follow these letters in Credit Bureau Secrets Exposed to deal with debt collectors. Okay, such an amount of punitive damages as the court may allow. All right, in the case of any successful action to enforce any liability under this section, the cost of the action together with reasonable attorney fees as determined by the court. So guys, listen, you guys can actually be your own attorneys in these matters and charge yourselves reasonable attorney fees. Okay? How much would it cost to settle this matter? Let me contact some attorneys to see how much they'll charge me. $9,000. So I'm going to bill them $9,000, $5,000, $6,000 plus $1,000 per occurrence because I'm the attorney on my own case. So let me read it one more time. In the case of any successful action to enforce any liability under this section, the cost of the action together, bang, with reasonable attorney fees as determined by the court. I'm defending myself. I'm standing on my own square because I'm not deaf, dumb, and blind, and I can read the law and interpret the law and understand how to read, and I understand court procedure to file a claim against these knuckleheads for doing impermissible credit pulls on my credit report. Follow me? Now, B, civil liability for knowing noncompliance. Civil liability for knowing noncompliance. Any person who obtains a consumer report from a consumer reporting agency under false pretense or knowingly without a permissible purpose, again that word, permissible purpose, shall be liable to the consumer reporting agency. You're liable to the consumer reporting agency for actual damages sustained by the consumer reporting agency or $1,000, whichever is greater. So Let's read that again. Civil liability for knowing non-compliance. Any person who obtains a consumer report, any person who obtains a consumer report from a consumer reporting agency. You got this from who? From Equifax? I didn't tell you to pull my credit under false pretenses or knowingly without permissible purpose. I didn't give you permission to run my credit. Now you're going to be liable to the consumer reporting agency. You're going to be liable to the consumer reporting agency as well for actual damages sustained by the consumer reporting agency or $1,000, whichever is greater. So here's the thing. It's kind of like the customer is going to be compensated. And because Wells Fargo or whoever pulled your credit because you had 10 different credit pulls when you went to that car payment, well, it says the civil liability for knowing non-compliance. You're going to have to pay the consumer reporting agency as well. So not only will you have to pay the individual, the natural person, you're going to also have to pay the consumer reporting agency because they're going to be sued and they're going to get their money back from you. Attorney's fees. Upon finding by the court that an unsuccessful pleading, motion, or other paper filed in connection with an action under this section was filed in bad faith or for purposes of harassment, the court shall award to the prevailing party attorney's fees reasonable in relation to the work expended in responding to the pleading, motion, or other paper. Read again. Attorney's fees. Upon finding by the court that an unsuccessful pleading, you unsuccessfully pleaded your motion or other paper filed in connection. You lost with an action that you tried to say you didn't do it. Under this section was filed in bad faith. You knew you violated that law. What's wrong with you? You knew. He mailed you 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. He sent an affidavit documenting the facts, and you didn't remove the debt. And you trying to come in here and you trying to say that you followed the law? You harassed this man. You defamed this man. The court's going to award the prevailing party attorney fees, reasonable in relation to the work expended in responding to the pleading, motion, or other paper. Boom. So that's your remedy, guys. It shows you can get $1,000 when they pull your credit on impermissible credit pulls. It shows you that those companies that's doing impermissible credit pulls is going to have to compensate the credit reporting agency because they were willful non-compliance. And in the case of any successful action, they're going to be successful. They win. They're going to get those attorney fees. And you're going to try to come in and rebut it. And you know you've been lying. So now you did something in bad faith for the purposes of harassment. So we're going to have to prevail and get those reasonable attorney fees. Now, let's go to subsection 617. Civil liability for neglect noncompliance. You neglected me. That's 15 U.S.C. subsection 1681. Oh. In general, any person who is negligent in failing to comply with any requirement imposed under this title with respect to any consumer, any person who is negligent in failing to comply with any requirement imposed under this title, you are required to follow the requirements imposed under this title. With respect to any consumer, is liable to that consumer in an amount equal to the sum of 1. Any actual damages sustained by the consumer as a result of the failure. 2. In the case of any successful action to enforce any liability under this section, the cost of the action together with reasonable attorney fees as determined by the court. I just read that, right? It sounds similar to what's going on in subsection 16. Anyway, civil liability for negligent noncompliance, right? So B, attorney fees. On a finding by the court that an unsuccessful pleading, motion, or other paper filed in connection with an action under this section was filed in bad faith or for the purposes of harassment, the court shall award to the prevailing party attorney fees reasonable in relation to the work expended in responding to pleading, motions, or other papers. All right, so that's subsection 16 and 17, which pretty much reads the same. One is for civil liability for willful noncompliance, meaning that you alerted them and they just willfully blind. They were willfully blind and just chose not to comply with you. Subsection 16, civil liability for negligent. You were negligent and you willfully was non-compliance and you was negligent because of it. All right. So that's what we need to know, guys. That's what your notice of intention to sue is based upon. And that's how you're going to get your remedy. You have an airtight case. Rocking with credit bureau secrets exposed. Reloaded. Reloaded. I know you guys are happy sitting over there. I just want to say thank y'all for rocking with me. I hope I gave y'all a lot of value. Something to actually put things in perspective for you that you have remedy. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful day.